Greetings, I'm Jason and welcome to my comic book reviews. This week I've got I start off with 8 books that I picked up on New Comic Book Day. I then bought 2 more today. However, I won't be reviewing Uncanny X-Men because I'm in the process of reading my way through that from issue 1. So hopefully by the time the next issue comes out, I'll have read my way through it. So I'll start reviewing it in my review videos. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into those 9 reviews. So we begin this week with the first of 2 number 1s I picked up. Is Wicked and the Divine from Image Comics. And I remember when I went to get my comics, every week they have one book that they have on the counter. This week, this book was the book that had that honour. And I looked at it and I was kind of, it's an Image number 1, but I didn't really know what it was about, so I didn't pick it up. I went home, I kind of looked into it, but I'm not really into books about teenagers. I loved Young Avengers, but that is the exception to the rule. Generally, I don't tend to go for books about teenagers. However, I had a bit of spare cash. I'd heard some good things about it, so I thought I'll give it a whirl. And I actually found myself really enjoying it. Basically, it's about these guards. I think there's 4 of them, but there might be more that we've not seen yet. And what happens to these people? They call them guards, but they're not. We don't know what they are yet. Basically, what they have some kind of abilities. They live for 2 years, and then they die, and then they're brought back every 90 years to live for 2 years. And they've been doing this throughout history. So we meet them in the beginning, the last time they were alive, as they end it, and then they come back. We don't know this time around how they come back and how everything goes down. We don't know yet. We're introduced to the characters through this girl called Laura, who's a normal, everyday kind of girl who idolizes these gods. And she, goes to this concert because they give this concert, and exactly what they're doing at this concert, the gods, we don't know. It's not singing, but it's something that makes everybody feel really good. And Laura wakes up and she meets one of the guards called Lucy, and Lucy takes her back to the after show party where the one who did the concert is being interviewed, and the interviewer is very cynical, doesn't believe that these gods are real and just thinks they're charlatans. And then kind of the story takes this epic kind of twist as all hell breaks loose, and that just ends the story, pushes the story down this road I wasn't expecting it to go, and it all ends up really quite exciting. I really enjoyed it. The art throughout is really good, and I really enjoyed the art. Scotty McCleaver does the art. It's beautifully laid out all the way through. That is one of my favourite of the double page spreads in this issue. So the art is really good. The story, it grabbed me enough and made me really interested and curious to want to know more about these guards. So yeah, it's an ongoing, not a mini, it's an ongoing. Kevin Gillen in the back, not Kevin, is it? Kieran Gillen, sorry, has a little article in the back and he says it's an ongoing, but they do have an end in mind, but it's years away. But yeah, for first issue, it grabbed me enough to make me want to get the next, which I think is always the job of a book, an ongoing book. And I'd give The Wicked and the Divine, issue number 1, 5 stars out of 5. So, the second of my number 1 issues is Infinity Man and the Forever People. This came out last week. It's based off a Jack Kirby comic. I haven't read a great lot of Kirby, but what I've read, I've really enjoyed. So, a book based off one of his ideas, I thought I'd definitely give that a whirl. It does a good job for a first issue of introducing to the main characters. We don't meet, I gather this guy in the back is Infinity Man. We don't meet him yet. We meet these characters in the foreground. We get to find out who they are, how come they come to be on Earth, a bit about them. We don't get to find out very much about why they've been sent to Earth. We don't know a great deal about that yet, but we get to meet who they are, their interactions with each other, conflicts with each other and stuff. So we learn a little bit more about them, and there's a really good scene when they arrive on Earth and we get each of their names and a bit more about them, and I thought that was really good how they did that. There's kind of like a computer in here that helps the one character, and it's called Kirby. I don't know if that's in the original comic or if that's something they've kind of put in there as kind of like, you know, a gesture to like to Kirby, the original creator. The end of the book, we kind of I feel the story we're going to follow, it kicks off at the end, it was a good story. I felt the art at the end wasn't too clear on exactly what happened, and I was a little bit unsure what happened right at the end. Did the character get killed? Did he transform into this other character we have on the last page? I wasn't totally sure, but that might be me having a thick moment. The art, however, I did enjoy. Keith Giffen has a real kind of a retro-y kind of feel to the art, which I don't know if it's his natural style or if he's kind of trying to pay, you know, homage to Kirby. But there is a really nice kind of retro-y feel to the art that I really enjoyed. And like I say, the issue does enough. It introduces everyone and sets the pieces in place. And yeah, I definitely will be back for number 2. Don't know if I'm going to keep getting it after that, but certainly it did enough to bring me back for issue 2. I always like when they bring something different out. Certainly the big 2, they tend to stick to the characters that we know and have history. And one of the things I have liked about the New 52 is they took risks. Yeah, you can argue, you know, that maybe they haven't always promoted those books as well as they could, but you know, you think books like All Star Western, you think you've got books like you had books like I Vampire, Frankenstein, GI Combat, you know, all these different kind of books that, you know, okay, they ended up being cancelled, but at least they were willing to try something different, and I always applaud that. So I'm always willing to try and support a book from one of the big 2 that's a bit off the beaten track, trying to bring in new, fresh characters, and this does a good job of that, and I'm looking forward to the next issue. And I give issue number 1 of Infinity Man and the Forever People 4 stars out of 5. So, sticking with DC, next up we have Batman and Ra's al Ghul, issue number 32. I picked up the wrong cover. They had some kind of variant, and I picked this up rather than the regular cover, because I don't tend to get the variants. And they never charge me any extra, which usually when they have like variant covers in my comic shop, they always charge a little bit extra. But this one, no. This was just your usual regular price, which I don't understand why, but I'm not complaining. Anywho, the book inside was just once again brilliant. We get Frankenstein back for the second issue in a row, which is brilliant. Always love seeing Frankenstein, so that was cool. The beginning of the issue kind of has a bit of a standoff between Batman and Ra's al Ghul, as Ra's al Ghul's kind of explaining his plans, and it's very beautifully drawn because the characters are kind of in shadow, so that was all really cool. Then like the battle breaks out, which is epic, and it all comes down to, as it should, to Batman versus Ra's al Ghul to the death for the Damien's soul, which is just, like I say, is awesome. I really enjoyed the whole battle and how it all kind of built to that moment. And then right at the end we have this amazing twist, which I believe is going to lead to the next bit, to where the story's going to go next. And that was just, it came totally out of left field. I never even expected them to show up. So that was really interesting, and I am super intrigued to where we're going to go next. But yet Peter Tomasi pulls off a top-notch job with the writing. The art was first class from Gleason, and yeah, I just really enjoyed this issue. And I give Batman and Ra's al Ghul, issue number 32, 5 stars out of 5. So, sticking with DC, next up we have Batman and Ra's al Ghul, issue number 32. I picked up the wrong cover. They had some kind of variant, and I picked this up rather than the regular cover, because I don't tend to get the variants. And they never charge me any extra, which usually when they have like variant covers in my comic shop, they always charge a little bit extra. But this one, no. This was just your usual regular price, which I don't understand why, but I'm not complaining. Anywho, the book inside was just once again brilliant. We get Frankenstein back for the second issue in a row, which is brilliant. Always love seeing Frankenstein, so that was cool. The beginning of the issue kind of has a bit of a standoff between Batman and Ra's al Ghul, as Ra's al Ghul's kind of explaining his plans. And it's very beautifully drawn because the characters are kind of in shadow, so that was all really cool. Then like the battle breaks out, which is epic, and it all comes down to, as it should, to Batman versus Ra's al Ghul to the death for the Damian's soul, which is just, like I say, is awesome. I really enjoyed the whole battle and how it all kind of built to that moment. And then right at the end we have this amazing twist, which I believe is going to lead to the next bit, to where the story's going to go next. And that was just, it came totally out of left field. I never even expected them to show up. So that was really interesting, and I am super intrigued to where we're going to go next. But yet Peter Tomasi pulls off a top-notch job with the writing. The art was first class from Gleason, and yeah, I just really enjoyed this issue. And I give Batman and Ra's al Ghul, issue number 32, 5 stars out of 5. So we're still on that DC buzz, and next up is the New 52 Futures End, issue number 7, and I'm loving this series, and this was another really great issue. What I really love what this book does is that every week it advances the stories, and we introduce characters, but then we get to see stories get to kind of put together what other stories and other threads are introduced, so you've not got too many threads because things have joined up, and I like that a lot. There are a lot of great moments this issue. There's a great moment with our Batman from the future and Mr. Terrific, and that's really cool, and that leads to a really cool reveal at the end of the issue. We also have a great moment with Jason, who's one half of Firestorm, and this scientist, and you just get this feeling there's something dodgy going on. We get to learn more about what's happened to Grifter on Cadmus Island, and we're introduced to a familiar face. We get Frankenstein battling Black Adam in the Phantom Zone. So it's just, there's some just really great stuff this issue. Oh, and there's Lois Lane as well. So yeah, everything seems to be moving forward. Once again, I'm going to say I love the fact that we've got characters that aren't major characters. I really like that. The whole thing of the what ifs of, like, as you're learning what's happened to characters in those 5 years, has been really interesting, and this just remains a really top-notch book, and a book I don't hear many people chatting about, but I'm really enjoying this, and I'd give Futures End issue number 7 a definite 5 stars out of 5. So we jump back over to Image now with Alex and Ada issue number 7. I think this is 7 as well. This was just another really great issue. The thing that really impresses me with this book is that every issue we don't really have that big of a cast, but you never kind of feel like the book is standing still, or there's not a lot happening, or it's moving too slow. You're just so engrossed with what's happening, and like this issue, I could break it down for you that Ada meets the neighbours find out she's an android. Alex gets outed by his neighbour because he's got an android. A guy, comes and because he thinks Alex is using her as a sex toy, and he's kind of jealous. And then Alex and Ada go for lunch at his grandma's. That's pretty much what happens, which doesn't sound that much as far as events and stuff. But when you read it, you're just so engrossed with the character moments, as Ada is kind of having to deal with her new like condition, but at the same time hiding that condition. I like the character of Alex more and more, and I find that, like, some of the moments are quite funny, like with the pervert neighbor, but like I really like Alex as a dude. He's a really upstanding kind of dude, and I like that, and I'm really intrigued. You can see eventually this is going to be romantic with Alex and Ada. You can see where it's going in that respect. But it's just so well written, it just draws you in, and the end, oh my god, talk about game changer. Like, that's a phrase that's used a lot these days that I hate, but the end of this issue, it just, like, he's going to be so interested to see where they're going to go next, because you can see, like, from Ada's side, she's going to feel guilty, and then from Alex's side, there's going to be concern, and it's really going to be interesting what happens to them from here. But yeah, I'm just really loving this book. The art as well is gorgeous and just brilliant. Every issue is just so consistently brilliant that, you read it, and it's just, yeah, it's just great stuff. Really loving this book. Alex and Ada issue number 7 is my pick of the week. So next up we have Daredevil issue number 4. After reading last month's Black Widow, I really had a hankering for a bit of Daredevil. Luckily my comic book shop still had the first 3 issues of this series, and I jumped on board, and I'm glad I did. It's a really good series. Samney and Wade are just such a consistent team. Add to that the colours of Rodriguez. Yeah, this book is just as close to comic book perfection as you're going to get on a consistent basis. This issue, however, isn't probably up to their level. And this is the problem. When you have a book and a creative team that are so good and are producing so consistently, when you have an issue that's just normally awesome, rather than the super awesome that you've come to expect, you kind of say, oh, this wasn't as good. Where if this was any other book, you'd say, this was incredible, because your expectations are so high. This was a good issue. I just didn't feel it's the best that they've done thus far. We're dealing with the Shroud, this other kind of blind superhero, who's dealing with the loss of his partner badly. And he's going on this kind of killing spree of villains. He's now targeted the Owl, but the Owl says he can get his love back. So Daredevil kind of has to kind of stop the Shroud, making the deal, if you will, with the devil. And yeah, I just really, again, that's the essential story in this issue. That takes front and center. That is the main thing we follow. There's some interesting developments with the Owl and what happens to him that I'm really curious to see what that's all about. And there's a dangerous deal Daredevil makes to kind of stop the Shroud that I'm going to be interested to see how that plays out as well. So a lot of interesting plot devices, if not the best that they've done. There's still a lot going on, and I'd give Daredevil issue number 4 4 stars out of 5. So my penultimate book this week is Thor, God of Thunder, issue number 23, which is the conclusion to the last days of Midgard. In the future, we've got King Thor, who has now got the Necro Sword of Ghul the God Butcher, and he's going to use that to help him fight Galactus and stop Galactus from destroying the Earth. In our modern day, we have Thor, our modern day Thor, fighting Dario Aga, otherwise known as the Minotaur, who is trying to destroy Bloxton, Oklahoma. And he's employed these trolls to kind of do some nasty business as well, and Thor's laying the smack down on them all. It's an action-packed issue, loads of like epic moments. Aaron and Ribic just made such an awesome team on the book. I love like the little kind of dialogue boxes, because Aaron kind of writes it in this way that it feels like this epic kind of saga from mythology. It really is it's the kind of vibe you want for a Thor book. For anyone that was kind of scared away by the Accursed, this book has kind of really totally come back to how great it was during the days of the God Butcher and the God Bomb, and it's that same level of awesomeness that we've got now. By the end, things kind of look like they're resolved in both the future and the present, but you also get there's a couple of seeds left lying that I think are going to come back, and I think we're going to get a second half to this story. I really believe that, because I don't think things are done yet. But yeah, this was just an epic joy, and I'm just really enjoying the book again. And I give Thor, God of Thunder, issue number 23, 5 stars out of 5. So the final book this week is Wonder Woman, issue number 32. This is a book, at the moment I've got strange emotions with this. I realise that we're coming to the end of this creative team's run on the book, and I'm kind of sad about that it's coming to an end. I'm kind of a bit scared of what's to come in the future. Who's going to replace this creative team? Are they going to take this book in a different direction? But at the same time, I'm trying to live in the moment and enjoy it while we've got it. So it's a strange place I'm at with this book. This was, as always, another great issue. This book is just so consistent, and has been since I jumped on board it. We're gearing up for the big battle against the Firstborn. Wonder Woman's got some kick-ass armor this issue. we're getting characters that we haven't seen for a while returning, and so you really get the sense that we're coming to the end, but also the sense that all the characters are going to get their stories kind of wound up, that nobody's going to be left dangling, which I like that's going to happen. That we get the beginning of a confrontation with the Firstborn, but the forces are massing, and you get the impression the big ass battle is just over the next hill. Again, this is brilliant. The art, as always, remains fantastically consistent, and I like the fact that even when they don't have Cliff Chang, that Goran Suzuka does the art, and his art is similar enough that it isn't too big of a change. So I like that. The book just remains excellent. I don't know how new reader friendly this would be. I think it's probably one of, because this book doesn't go in arcs. It's just basically been one story since issue 1. So in that respect, it doesn't make it the friendliest book to jump onto. I think you could pick this up and you'd enjoy it, but I don't think some of the moments you would really get what the resonance is with them, because you hadn't read the previous stuff. But it's a book that you'd enjoy, and it's well worth going back to the beginning, because it's just been a fantastic series. Really looking forward to seeing how this is going to end up, and I give Wonder Woman issue number 32 5 stars out of 5. So we've come to the end of my reviews, and what a great week of books it was this week. There were no duds amongst them. Even the books that didn't get 5 stars were still really good books. It's those weeks that, like, why you're a comic book fan. There was so much great stuff and different stuff out there this week. So yeah, I had a really great week comic book wise. I will be back. I don't know, I may or may not be back Wednesday. I'm working, and you know that's never good for doing a video. But if there's time, I'll try and do a whole video Wednesday, but no promises. But I would most 100% definitely be back next weekend with another review video. Next week I think I got 10 books. It might be 11, it depends whether I decide to get Outcast or not. I'm kind of umming and ahhing whether to get it or not. On the one hand, the book doesn't sound my kind of thing. Possession, that isn't the kind of thing I usually that interested in. So from that perspective, it isn't really, you know, get my juices running. But on the other hand, it's like a new Robert Kirkman series, and you know, I'd love to be able to go back in time and jump on something like Invincible or Walking Dead when they started, you know, and to be able to have every issue from the first would be awesome. So there's that kind of thing. You think, oh yeah, be able to jump on a Kirkman book from the beginning, but then it doesn't really sound like my bag. So I don't know until next week whether I'm going to pick that up or not. Knowing me, I probably won't pick it up Wednesday, and I'll end up picking it up Friday when I've seen what people say about it. But anywho, that's me done pretty much for this week. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give me those thumbs up so I know that you're enjoying what I'm doing. As always, like I said, thank you very much for watching, and I will be back. I will see you next week with more comic book goodness. I've been Jason. This has been my comic book reviews. Bye for now.